I adopted 100 dogs. I
Right.
gave my friend 50 dogs, or I gave a dog $1 million for dog treats, whatever. I take in random words. I see what pops in my head. I write those down, and I take in another random word. And like I've studied it very intensely. I've tried like lucid dreaming to see if I could trick myself to come up with ideas while I'm sleeping and stuff like that.
Wow.
I work really well when I intake inspiration and I see what pops in my head. That's like the most effective way for me to come up with ideas. So it's like I just try different ways of intaking inspiration, whether it be like traveling, random words, flipping through a dictionary, things like that. And that's always, for me, been the way to like consistently come up with good ideas.
Wow. So you actively seek these ideas out and you try to come up with different ways to just have them manifest.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you do, then you sit down with the crew and you go, okay, how do we make this? And then how does that work?
It's a long but then we can't start working on the video until we know what it is. So
Right.
then, I have a guy named Tyler who I've known for years. I went to high school with. He's just phenomenal. And so, then we have to write the video and actually figure it out. Like, so if I want to bury myself alive for 50 hours, like, what does that look like? What are we doing in there? Because until you
Right.
know everything you're doing, you can't start working on it. And then, you can come up with it. And then we have, our people who basically make it happen. But then the problem is it's like, oh, well, you wrote you wanted a giant ball in a coffin. But, like, they're like, oh, well, you can't get a giant ball. And so then it's, like, just months of back and forth, like, and this is where most people fall apart and why like this wouldn't work in traditional media, because it's like you don't write a script and then just hand it to them, especially because it's non-scripted. Like so you can't just say like here's what we need and then they just do it and then it magically happens, because like once they start working on it, there's like all these things like, oh well, this isn't possible, so it's like a back and forth for months. And then it's like usually it's like, well, since this didn't work, that means this doesn't work, and the hypothetical thing like you can't light a firework in the coffin or whatever, or like you can't light a fire. If like one of the bits was me to cook food, well, because of the ventilation, you can't light a fire in there. And so then it's like you got to change it. So it's like a lot of back and forth like that over the course of months, and then you get a final product, which is why you need intelligent people working on it so they can like do that and they can occasionally make decisions on their own without having to push it all up to me, because then I'd want to kill myself.
And this has been all just a trial and error sort of thing from the beginning of your first
Exactly.
videos to now.